Hello, Rumsey Hall. I'm Chris Barron. I am author of The Magical and Perfect, and I am really excited to share with you some stuff about the book and about my life and books I love. And I wish I could be there with you, but maybe this is the next best thing. So here we go. All right, so if you see a picture of me riding a bear, the question I would ask you is, how many of you think this is real? And you hopefully all would raise your hand and believe me. But the truth is, we should never ride a bear. And it's disrespectful to the bear. But my nickname my whole life has always been Bear. In every sports team I've been on, in theater productions, it's just been Bear. So my friend made this picture for me. So, let me continue. Who am I? I'm a few things. As we go through life, we're not just one person. We're not just one thing. We have lots of interests. So, I'm a writer, of course, and a kid who really liked to ride horses. I am also someone who absolutely loves pizza. If you read my book, All of Me, you would know that it's my favorite food. And in that book is a quote that says, "Pizza is made of magic." Ari. And Ari is the main character of All of Me. And one of my students found this on Quote Fancy and sent it to me. But always New York pizza, that's my favorite. But I'm not just an author, I'm an English professor at San Diego City College, and I am also the director of the Writing Center, which I absolutely love and am very thankful for. And I'm a martial arts instructor, so I teach a form called Krav Maga, which is an Israeli form of self-defense. I've done it for a long time. I haven't been teaching much lately, but I love it. I am also a farmer. Out here in San Diego, I like to try to grow things. I have a neighbor who's mentoring me. It's always good to have teachers and mentors in life and people around you who help you do things. So I grow avocados and apricots and peaches, and I'm trying vegetables, and I raise chickens. And there's little Emo there, that little chick, and Galadriel and Miles Morales, and another Wyandotte named Snowball. And I have about 10 chickens. So I actually love growing things. It's a lot of fun. I also raise a family, not just chickens. And here they are, Ella and Sasha, Kaitlao and Samaria. And here they are a little bit older now, so they don't always stay little like that. I wish they did sometimes, but love them. And I'm also an author, and this is the first time I ever had a book launch. I had a book of poetry that I wrote in 2012, and it came out, and I went to the parking lot, and there was a cone with my name on it, and I thought, wow, I have made it. And then a few years later, I launched my first book, All of Me, which is right here, and that was a really fun thing to do at a bookstore. And these are some of my books, and I won't talk about all of them, but All of Me, and of course The Magical and Perfect is here. And then you've got The Gray, which came out last summer, and Secret of the Dragon Gems, which is a really fun book. And these are all books written for readers like you, all about adventure and outcasts and fantasy. And the fun thing is, I try to write, even though all the books are different and they're not actually, sequels, they all take place in the same world. So sometimes the characters reference other characters. I also have a book that came out, well, depending on when you see this, it's called On All Other Nights, which you can't really see maybe in my little video here because the screen is there, but it's down below there, and it's a Passover celebration. And it's a story about ritual and family and remembering things that are important, and it's 14 stories by different authors. I have a story in there, but I was also the editor, so I was the person that helped make the book. But Adam Gidwit, Sophia Pasternak, Ruth Behar, Maria Lowe, Vera Hernandani, Naomi Milliner, so many great authors we love. And a few other books that are coming out soon. And I've always, always, always loved stories. And chances are there are stories you love too. And these are some of my favorite books as a kid. So Birds of Terabithia, Where the Wild Things Are, The Hobbit, All of the Kind Family, Wrinkle in Time. Raise your hand if you like any of these books. And I suspect that some of you are raising your hand. And there are so many other books. And what I love is that chances are I am a little bit older than you. Maybe just a little bit. But the truth is, if you've read these books and I've read these books, we are connected by stories And that's why I think stories are so, so important. That even though we've never met, we are connected by the stories that we've read together. And writing helps us. Writing helps us to tell our own stories. I loved Where the Wild Things Are, where Max is kind of mad in his room, doesn't eat his dinner, and then his room becomes a forest. And then he goes into a whole other world. That's what reading does. And I've always loved writing, and I thought I would share my first book I ever wrote. Here it is, The Funny Lion. The first book I ever wrote, I must have been 4 or 5. It had yellow yarn, and it was about a lion who bumped into a tree and was so embarrassed. But luckily, the giraffe and the zebra, made him feel better. But I've always just loved to tell stories, and chances are you do too. And sometimes life is challenging, but for me, stories really save me. I'm going to move this over so you can see. So I write books with different themes that maybe, resonate with you about coming of age, intergenerational relationships, immigration, the ancient world versus the modern world, natural disasters, chronic illness, all those kinds of things. So these are life's challenges. No matter how old you are, we face some of these things. And just like in The Gray, which came out in June, it's a book all about this kid named Sasha who really, really loves, video games and spending time with his friends playing, but his anxiety gets so bad that he goes into a whole other world called The Gray. And he decides he has to learn how to deal with it. So he moves to upstate New York with his aunt for the summer outside. And I like to write stories that have to do with my own life. And so, just like the characters in my stories, just like in this story, The Gray, I also deal with anxiety. Same with Secret of the Dragon Gems, which is a book I wrote with Rajni Laraka about 2 friends that meet at the last night of camp, and they are so over camp. They're ready to go home, but they see something like a bright light in the sky, and they follow it to a stream, and they see something shining in the water, and they find these glowing rocks. And they become friends, and they decide, let's take these rocks home to remember each other by. But it turns out the rocks aren't just rocks. And of course, on other nights, which I just mentioned, and I'm going to skip ahead to the magical and perfect. So, let me just tell you a little bit about the magical and perfect, some things maybe you didn't know. Did you know that the magical and perfect was once called, before it became that name, 2 other names? The first name was Made of Clay, and the second name was The Girl Behind the Door. And if you read the book, you could see how maybe that could be the title. What title do you like best? And this was a really fun drawing that a friend of mine, Remy Lai, who's written a bunch of great books that maybe you read, Pie in the Sky and Picasso and others, did for me. So where did the magical and perfect come from? Well, it came from places I've lived, family history, heritage, and world history. So it's fiction, it's a story, but it comes from all the places and things in my own life and the world around me. Here are some places I've lived and that appear in the book. San Francisco, New York, galleries, Stinson Beach, the coast of California. All of these places inspired the book. And of course, family history and characters. This is my family, both sides, my Jewish family, and also my Filipino family. My wife is Filipina, and so obviously Malia in the story is Filipina. Just like my great-grandparents immigrated here from Europe, just like characters in the story, so did my wife's family immigrate here from the Philippines. Just like on the Calypso, they made their way across the sea. And this is, a book full of family history and characters, and also eczema, something that Malia deals with, is something that my wife Ella deals with. She even wrote a book called Itchy Brown Girl Seeks Employment. And so when Malia's going through it, it's an experience that I'm familiar with in our lives. Same with Eitan and selective mutism. It's something that Eitan struggles with in his life, and it's something that I have struggled with also. And sometimes, we go through things and we don't know why. And for Eitan, it's the same way. And also immigration, something that we both care about. Like I mentioned before, we both have family that have immigrated through Europe and through the Philippines. And many people have heard of Ellis Island, but not many people have heard of Angel Island. And that's where I did lots of research for the story to understand that many, many Chinese immigrants came through Angel Island. But on that ship, there are also immigrants from all over the world coming together. And in the book, they form a town called Shipshaven. It's also about the World Series, the A's and the Giants World Series of 1989, which was so fun to research. And you can find all kinds of TV broadcasts all about what happened because it happened on live TV. And of course, there's the grandfather's magic chest, this idea of old world magic that he brings to the new world, and the clay from the Batalva River. And will magic even work? Will it be relevant in today's world at all? And of course, there's always shyness that both characters deal with. And this poem, Shyness is the swirly part of a glass marble, all those colors, a tiny universe trapped inside the smallest space. I've never tried to crack a marble, but if I did, I bet the inside would explode into stars. And if I had time, I'd ask questions. But I don't.